Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 5 Questions with the Paulists. Today, we're going to go out to a place I've never been to, Iowa. And there, David Rooney is joining us. David has followed the Paulists around the country, and he's one of our Paulist Associates who's living in the diaspora. David, how you doing?
I'm good, Mike. Thanks. Yeah. Have mission will travel. That's just like the true Paulist.
Let's get right into it. Question one. You've been with the Paulists in California and Tucson and Chicago, but now you live in Iowa. So tell me what's one way that you stay connected to them in the diaspora?
Well, I was thinking about this. The diaspora wouldn't exist without this technology, Zoom. So we meet regularly about once a month on Zoom. That's how we get together. And but I have to say I was pretty reluctant at first because I was sharing with you a little bit about how I have a media background, and anytime the camera's on me, I have to be on. And so I was really quite jealous of the folks that could be themselves on Zoom. And it took me a little while to get used to it, not to mention spending most of my workday on the Zoom as well. So, but I really appreciate that we have that option now. It's great.
Cool. Question two, you lost your mom at a really young age. What's one way that affected your spiritual life for better or for worse?
Yeah, I was 15, and mom and I had a pretty great bond and connection. Probably the most important person in my life up to that point. And so the first part was just kind of coping with the separation that was happening, which is, I think, normal. I think that's probably what most people react. And that took some time. Even now, it takes some time to sort of live my life throughout that. But I think what I was able to see was my father's example of how my father coped. And most of that was really pouring into his faith and really taking a lot from that example, and then connecting with my dad in that particular way as well. So the faith, and that right around the time when I started meeting with the Paulists at that time, maybe a little bit later, a few years later, but around college. So I consider them my spiritual community, that kind of thing. So I think, and then one thing I'd say about that too is my mom's sense of service in life. She was the mother of 8. So I think she made a lot of sacrifices and served a lot of people. And I was getting some idea that being of service would help mend a lot of those feelings of separation.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Question three, during the pandemic, what was one spiritual practice that sustained your relationship with God?
Walking.
Ah,
I'm sort of a urban hiker. I don't really hit the trails too much, but I like to get around and explore new neighborhoods and see different corners of the city. And it was pretty new to me, living in this city. And so I'd either walk out in the prairies, or I'd walk out in the direction of what I call the country church, or walk in the downtown area, which I would call the direction of the city church. I'm kind of right in the middle of that. And I would take these epic walks, these loops, these trails that I particularly, or this particular loop that I like to take. It would take about maybe 2 to 3 hours and cover about 3 or 4 miles or something. And I got a lot out of that, just being time out there outside, which was great. And then contemplating just about what's going on and how God is affecting in my life and that sort of thing.
should copyright the term urban hiking. That's great.
Well, I'm sure somebody already has, right?
And question four, what's a comfort food that you like to eat or make?
Well, I'm tempted to say pizza because I think it's very popular, like people like to. But if you wanted to say make, I would go with a burrito, just a classic refried beans, cheese, tortilla burrito, simple. But more so because it really, the comfort side of it is like identifying with my dad, because my dad sort of used the burrito as the catch-all for all leftovers. You imagine we had, and anything can end up in a burrito, as far as ingredients. And so I've sort of taken that tradition with me, and I really appreciate a good burrito, and I enjoy making them actually too. So
That's really fun. And then question five, what's the thing about heaven that you're most curious about?
So a theory I heard, and I'm not sure where, but might have come up in a Paulist Associate meeting or something, but is that, since God is love, God is the center of a relationship and what we can experience as heaven and what we can anticipate it's going to be. Of course, we don't know, but I thought about how that idea, that concept that love is really the essence of God. And then if we are in the presence of God, that love does not separate us. Because I know a lot of people that are, especially some of the older folks I know, that are concerned about whether they're going to be in heaven with the people they love, especially if it's younger people and they're not practicing their faith, and that's a concern for them. So the theory was that, well, you will experience heaven with your loved ones, whether they're there or not. And I'm not sure about the theology of that, but it's like, because of that love, it doesn't separate. You can't be separated from you in God's love. So, and that theory then would be that there is perhaps somebody experiencing the love of me, like my parents, and I am kind of with them in that experience, of course, because God is all transcending, right? There's no time, space element. And so there's an element of me that's in that they're experiencing, and that someday, I will be in the same place, and I won't have to have any worry or concern about who else is going to be there, because they'll all be there because of that love that we shared here. Okay. So it's a big theory. We'll just see if that's actually what happens. That's what I'm curious about.
Exactly. All right. So those are 5 questions. Paulist Associate David Rooney, thanks so much. 1, for following the Paulists all around the country, and 2, for staying connected to them now in your new adopted home of Iowa.
Thanks, Mike.
This is Mike Hayes, and this is 5 Questions with the Paulist. We'll see you all again next time.